With the end of the year being just a few days away, there's a chance you want to get into the Christmas spirit by watching a few heartwarming movies, like Home Alone and, as Google suggests, Die Hard? To each their own, I guess. But since Home Alone has already been reviewed to death by Legal Perspective, I decided to focus on another Christmas classic, How the Grinch Stole Christmas, which in our case looks more like a Christmas edition of Ted Kaczynski's Misadventures. So grab something hot to drink, get under a cozy blanket, and let's get into a not-so-jolly legal breakdown of the Grinch. Disclaimer. This video is for entertainment purposes only and should not be taken as legal advice. Laws vary via location, and this is a general, simplified analysis of fictional scenarios. If you actually need legal advice, consult a qualified professional. Right at the beginning, we're told the story takes place in a town called Whoville, which literally exists on a literal snowflake. I'm not quite sure entirely which jurisdiction that falls under, but for the sake of this video, we're applying US law. Now, even though the entire town of Whoville seems a little out of touch with reality, we're gonna focus exclusively on the Grinch's crimes here. And yes, there's a lot to unpack with the mayor alone, including publicly admitting to buying expensive cars as gifts, but that's a different video. So let's focus on the Grinch himself. Early on, the Grinch rigs a trap meant to frighten children on a narrow mountain path leading to his home. While the device itself is rather harmless, setting a device intended to cause panic in a dangerous environment would probably constitute reckless endangerment and potentially even a use of a booby trap. No one has actually fallen for the crime to exist, but creating the risk is enough. Luckily, the teenagers only walked away scared and maybe with a few minor bruises. Shortly after, the Grinch decides to visit town, where he escalates by sabotaging a bicycle, cutting it, or somehow manipulating its mechanism, causing the rider to crash. That's criminal mischief combined with aggravated assault, because he intentionally caused a mechanical failure that's likely to result in bodily injury. And even though that crash on screen doesn't look severe, if someone broke a bone, that would immediately become a felony assault. Later, he's shown to shoot the mayor of the town with a straw. While this sounds silly and rather harmless, it would still be a crime, because it's unwanted physical contact done intentionally, and this is considered battery, even if no injury occurs. Because this happens publicly, it could also qualify as harassment. He then retreats from the chaos he has created to what appears to be a mail facility, where he floods Whoville with fake jury duty notices impersonating as government process. That's a criminal impersonation, mail fraud, and interfering with judicial administration. And courts do not treat jury tampering as a joke. In some cases, it may be considered a felony. Throughout the movie, the Grinch repeatedly destroys gifts and other property. That's criminal mischief. The value of the property doesn't matter at first, but it adds up really fast. One of the more serious moments occurs when he scares a child into falling into an active industrial machine. Now, the fact that the child could even get into this facility, where a potential dangerous machine is kept running without any supervision, that would probably give OSHA a seizure. But that's not why we're here. We later learn that the Grinch rescues her, although that does not erase the crime. Causing the minor to fall into a potential lethal machine is a felony child endangerment and reckless endangerment borderline on attempted manslaughter. Rescuing mitigates the sentencing, but it does not negate liability. He then wraps a minor in gift wrap, restraining her movements. That's unlawful restraint of a minor, and that's a felony in many states, regardless of comedic framing. The Grinch also engages in prank calls, including where he threatens to catch somebody like a fish. And that's not a prank, that's a criminal threat. Even if there's no follow-up, well, at least he didn't try to swat somebody. Shortly after his rampage, the Grinch returns home and we learn about his origin as a criminal. As a child, after being bullied by his classmates for his appearance, he destroyed the classroom property and a Christmas tree. That would qualify as juvenile criminal mischief. The law would, of course, treat this differently because of his age at the time, but this would still trigger intervention. His escape into wilderness as a child isn't a crime, however. Child Protective Services would absolutely be involved. A minor living alone in extreme conditions is a mandatory reporting scenario. As we are brought back to the present time, the Grinch uses a trapdoor to send a miner flying through a tube, which is probably functioning as a garbage system, again, creating a high risk of serious injury. Another count of felony child endangerment. While debating what to wear after learning that he's been invited to town, he physically yanks a yodeler off the screen and steals his clothes. That's robbery, taking property by force, and assault. After his dog sends him to the town through the same garbage tunnel, the Grinch falls onto Martha May's breast. Even though this doesn't look good for the Grinch, it probably wouldn't qualify as anything because it's accidental and the contact is immediately disengaged. Right after being triggered by some traumatic childhood memories, he goes on yet another criminal rampage. He scratched the car the mayor bought with the taxpayers' money, committing criminal mischief again. I mean, the Grinch scratching the car, not the mayor buying. That would be embezzlement and misuse of public funds, and that's not on our case today. He continues by scaring people with sharp claws, intentionally causing fear of injury, and performing lewd gestures in public. That's public indecency, which is a typical misdemeanor. Things escalates when he shaves the mayor's head and kisses him without consent. That's battery and forcible unwanted contact, regardless of comedic framing. He steals alcohol from an elderly man, that's robbery, and uses it to ignite and destroy a Christmas tree, committing some casual arson. After accusing a taxi driver of racism when he refuses to stop for him and provide their services, the Grinch takes drastic measures. He steals a car from a young couple driving recklessly through town, causing multiple injuries. That's reckless driving, vehicle assault, and potentially vehicle battery. It's unclear whether he drank the stolen alcohol or used it all to ignite the tree. But if he drank any of it, a DUI charge would absolutely be on the table. During his escape attempt, he rams a car into what looks to be a fire hydrant, somehow causing a large explosion. That's criminal mischief, reckless endangerment, and infrastructure damage, not counting all the potential injuries. He flees the scene, which also adds invading the law enforcement if the police are in pursuit. After his rampage, the Grinch returns home, where he commits felony animal cruelty, where he throws his dog from a concerning height in the cold weather after his dog taunts him. Even though the dog survives, this is still a crime. Oh god, here comes the big one. He decides to steal Christmas, which is basically a plan to burglarize dozens of homes. Planning in advance makes it a criminal conspiracy, which he acts upon by constructing and operating an unregistered aircraft without certification or licensing. That violates aviation safety laws, as operating an unregistered aircraft is prohibited by FAA, since all civilian aircrafts, including drones over 250 grams, must be registered and marked. And these laws exist for a reason, considering the Grinch nearly died on his first flight, as well put an entire town in danger by flying extremely low over residential homes, even parked on them, which is considered reckless operation of an aircraft and property endangerment. The Grinch impersonates Santa Claus, a trusted figure, to gain access to homes, and that's fraud and criminal impersonation. He then commits mass burglary, entering occupied homes at night, stealing property. In this case, every house would be a separate felony count. He sucks a cat into a machine, earning his second count of animal cruelty, although the animal thankfully survives and gets a brief moment of revenge. He tricks the mayor into kissing a dog's rear, which is another count of battery. After burglarizing the entire town, the Grinch realizes his aircraft is out of fuel and forces his dog to pull an overloaded sled up a mountain. And by overloaded, I mean generously. This thing weighs several tons. Leaving the feasibility of that aside, this adds yet another count of felony animal abuse. As it turns out, the Grinch did not steal the property to resell for monetary gain. His motive seems to be more ideological. Instead, he attempts to destroy the stolen presents, which is still an attempt of destruction of property. He stopped in the middle of his deed when he had a change of heart, both figuratively and literally, causing him to decide to return the stolen property to the town residents. That, however, did not go smoothly either, as he's seen recklessly driving down the mountain at high speeds with a minor on board, which is a felony case of reckless endangerment of a child. After narrowly killing anyone, the Grinch finally repents, returning the property and admitting guilt. Although the mayor suggests to deploy tear gas on the Grinch, that would most likely constitute an unjustifiable use of force, considering he was just standing there with his arms stretched out, ready to be cuffed, saying,
And I'm
'And I'm 'And I'm 'And I'm 'And I'm 'And I'm 'And I'm 'And I'm 'And I'm 'And I'm 'And I'm 'And I'm 'And I'm 'And I'm 'And I'm 'And I'm 'And I'm 'And I'm 'And I'm 'And I'm 'And I'm 'And I'm 'And I'm 'And I'm 'And I'm 'And I'm 'And I'm 'And I'm 'And I'm 'And I'm 'And I'm 'And I'm 'And I'm 'And I'm 'And I'm 'And I'm 'And I'm 'And I'm 'And I'm 'And I'm 'And I'm 'And I'm 'And I'm 'And I'm 'And I'm 'And I'm 'And I'm 'And I'm 'And I'm 'And I'm 'And I'm 'And I'm 'And I'm 'And I'm 'And I'm 'And I'm 'And I'm 'And I'm 'And I'm 'And I'm 'And I'm 'And I'm 'And I'm 'And I'm 'And I'm 'And I'm 'And I'm 'And I'm 'And I'm 'And I'm 'And I'm 'And I'm 'And I'm 'And I'm 'And I'm 'And I'm 'And I'm 'And I'm 'And I'm 'And I'm 'And I'm 'And I'm 'And I'm 'And I'm 'And I'm 'And I'm 'And I'm
sorry.
It wouldn't exactly get him off so easily. Even with full cooperation, restitution, and remorse, the Grinch criminal exposure is too overwhelming for the police to say,
He said he was sorry.
and that brings us to the verdict. Let us bring up all the crimes, and there's a lot. So let's just get into the list of them. Starting with yours, 1 count of not subscribing to the channel and liking the video. That's life in prison. Okay, let's get into the serious stuff now. Although you should still do that. 3 counts of child endangerment, 5 to 10 years per count. Possible dozens of first-degree burglary counts, 5 to 20 years per count. Criminal conspiracy, 3 to 5 years. Grand larceny, 5 to 10 years. Mail fraud, 2 to 5 years. Arson, 5 to 15 years. Vehicle theft, 3 to 7 years. Vehicle assault, 5 to 10 years. 4 counts of felony reckless endangerment, 1 to 5 years per count. Felony animal cruelty, 2 to 5 years per count. Robbery, 3 to 7 years. Criminal threats, 2 to 4 years. At least 2 counts of battery, up to a year per count. Assault by threat, 1 to 3 years. Public indecency, up to a year. Felony evading law enforcement, 2 to 5 years. 2 counts of aviation safety violations, up to 3 years per count. 2 counts of criminal mischief, 1 to 3 years per count. In the worst case scenario, we're looking at a life sentence, although realistically it would probably only be around 80 to 150 years. Parole would technically be possible, but only after decades in prison time. That would definitely ruin his newfound joy for Christmas for many years ahead, to put it very lightly. Let me know in the comments if you agree with our verdict in this video. You can also leave your objections there, as well as suggestions for your favorite movies, TV shows, or even anime and video game you would like us to see breakdown. And don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if that sounds like something you might be interested in. See you all in the next one!